Hello and welcome to Easy English Stories. This is not just a story to learn English. It's also a shadowing exercise. Shadowing means you listen, repeat, and speak with me. It helps your English sound more natural. So don't just listen, repeat after me. Let's begin. My name is Olivia. I live in a small, peaceful town. Every morning I wake up at 7 a.m. My husband, David, is already in the kitchen. He makes coffee. I sit down. We smile. "Good morning," he says. "Good morning," I answer. We eat breakfast, toast and eggs, same as yesterday. Then he kisses my cheek and leaves for work. "Have a nice day," he says. "You too," I reply. The house becomes quiet again. David is kind. He works hard. He brings me flowers on Sundays. People say I have a perfect life, but something feels empty. I don't feel excited. I don't feel love. Sometimes I ask myself, is this really what I want? One afternoon I was in the garden. The sun was warm. I watered the flowers and trimmed the roses. Then I saw a moving truck. A man stepped out. He was tall with dark hair and a calm smile. He looked around and waved at me. "Hi," he said. "Hello," I replied. He walked closer. "I'm Eric. I just moved in next door." "Nice to meet you. I'm Olivia," I said. We talked for a few minutes. Nothing special, just weather, the neighborhood, and the garden. But something felt different. He looked at me when I spoke. He listened. Later that evening, David came home. "How was your day?" he asked. "It was fine," I said. But I kept thinking about Eric. Not in a romantic way, just curious. And that feeling of emptiness, it grew a little stronger. The next day I saw Eric again. He was sitting on his porch drinking lemonade. "Want some?" he asked. I smiled. "Sure." I sat beside him. The sun was setting. The air felt light. We talked about simple things, music, books, and our favorite foods. I laughed more in 10 minutes than I had all week. Then he looked at me and asked, "Are you happy?" The question surprised me. I paused. "Yes," I said, but it didn't feel true. He nodded slowly. Sometimes people forget to ask themselves that. I didn't know what to say, so I changed the subject. Later that night, I stood in front of the mirror. Was I happy? I thought about David, about our home, our life. Everything looked perfect, but it felt quiet, too quiet. I whispered to myself, "I don't know." And that was the first time I admitted it, not to anyone else, just to me. The days passed. I started spending more time outside, in the garden, on walks, near Eric's porch. David didn't notice, or maybe he didn't care. One afternoon, Eric said, "You seem different this week." I looked at him. "Different how?" "More alive," he said. I laughed. I guess I needed some fresh air. But deep down I knew. Talking to Eric felt easy, natural, like I could breathe. At dinner that night, David talked about work. I nodded, smiled, and cleaned the dishes. He didn't ask how my day was. He never did. That night I couldn't sleep. I looked at David. He was snoring, peaceful. I used to love that sound. Now it made me feel alone. I turned to the window and stared at the moon. A thought came to me. What if this isn't the life I want? Not because of Eric, but because I was starting to wake up, and I couldn't unsee it. One quiet morning, I saw Eric again. He was watering his plants. I waved. He smiled. "I made tea," he said. I walked over. We sat in silence for a while. Then I said, "Can I tell you something?" He looked at me. "Of course." "I don't think I'm happy," I said. He didn't speak. He just waited. I thought I had the perfect life. A nice house, a good husband, but my voice trembled. "I feel invisible." Eric nodded. "You're not alone." Tears filled my eyes. Not because of Eric, but because someone finally listened. David never listened. He talked, worked, and smiled, but he never really saw me. "I'm not in love anymore," I whispered. Eric didn't judge, he didn't give advice. He just said, "You deserve to feel alive." That night, I wrote in my journal, "I spoke the truth today, and it didn't break me. It set me free. And for the first time in years, I slept without feeling empty." The next few days were hard. I couldn't stop thinking about what I had said to Eric. It felt like a weight was lifted off my chest. But now there was a new question. What do I do with this feeling? I tried to talk to David, but it was always the same. He was busy with work. He didn't ask how I felt. He didn't see me. One evening, I went for a walk by the river. The moon was bright and the air was cool. I thought about David. I thought about Eric. I thought about my life. The decision was clear. I couldn't keep living in silence. I couldn't keep pretending. I went home, sat on the couch, and looked at David. "David, we need to talk." He looked at me, surprised. "What is it, Olivia?" "I don't think I'm happy in this marriage anymore," I said. The silence between us felt heavy. David stared at me. "You don't mean that." But I did. It was time to choose, a life of silence or a life of truth. David didn't speak for a long time. He just stared at me, his face frozen. I could feel my heart racing. "Olivia," he finally said, This is a lot." "I know," I whispered. "But I can't pretend anymore. I'm not happy." He stood up, pacing around the living room. I watched him, my mind clouded with thoughts. "I thought we were fine," he said, looking at the floor. "We were fine. In the beginning," I answered. "But we're not anymore." David didn't know what to say, and I didn't either. We had built a life together, but I was starting to see that life differently. "Do you want a divorce?" he asked, his voice soft. I nodded. "I think I do." The silence that followed was heavy. I wasn't sure what came next, but I knew one thing. I had made my decision. The weeks that followed were difficult, but also freeing. David moved into the guest room. We talked, but not about the things that mattered. It was a quiet kind of sadness. One evening, I sat in the living room, drinking a cup of tea. I looked at the empty chair across from me. It had always been David's spot. Now it was just empty. I realized that I was no longer afraid of the silence. It wasn't empty anymore. It was a space for me to think, to breathe, and to grow. Eric continued to check in on me. We talked more often. I never felt judged. I never felt like I had to explain myself. One afternoon he said, "You're stronger than you think, Olivia." His words made me smile. I wasn't sure where my life was going, but I was starting to feel like I had control. One day, I woke up with a feeling of peace. The house felt quieter, but not lonely. I made breakfast for myself, just me. It felt good. It felt right. Later that afternoon, I packed a bag and went for a walk in the park. The sun was shining, and everything felt fresh. For the first time in months, I felt alive. Eric called me as I was sitting on a bench. "How are you doing?" he asked. "I'm good," I said, a smile in my voice. "Really good." He laughed. "I'm happy for you." I looked around. People were walking, talking, laughing. Life was going on. And for the first time in a long time, I realized that I was ready to live my own life. Not for David, not for anyone else, just for me. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and felt the warmth of the sun. This was just the beginning. I hope you enjoyed Olivia's story. Life can be tough, but making decisions for your own happiness is always worth it. What do you think? Did Olivia make the right choice? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. Let's inspire others together. Remember, your happiness is in your hands. The best chapters of your life are still ahead.